Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Welcome to Centerpoint. I'm your host, Dr. Ron Anbar. In this show, we will discuss ways that we can journey to our own centers. This can help us access our inner resources to improve our physical abilities and health, our mental strength, our emotional well-being, and our spirituality. And today I have the pleasure of introducing a very special guest. He is a student and friend of mine by the name of Noah. Welcome, Noah.
Hi, Dr. Anbar. Thank you for having me.
We're going to talk a little bit about how Noah and I met, and then Noah's had some experiences with hypnosis, but he's actually observed me doing hypnosis with a lot of my patients, but he's also gone to different therapists who has taught him hypnosis techniques, and I'm looking forward to hearing about his experiences and what he's learned thus far. So maybe we can start, Noah. Maybe you can introduce yourself. How did we come to meet?
So, as you know, I was a student at UCSD, and I got an email saying there was a mentorship program, and I was like, oh my gosh, how cool. Like, I want a mentor. That sounds amazing. And I signed up for the mentorship. A few weeks later, they emailed me back saying, you got matched with Dr. Anbar. And I read about you. I read that you're a pediatric pulmonologist. You specialize in counseling and hypnosis. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I need to meet this person. And then we finally met over Zoom, and he told me if we work well together, then we can keep the mentorship going for as long as we need. I can shadow you. I came in to start shadowing you at Centerpoint in your office. And from that point, I knew hypnosis was the way to go, and I knew that this is what I want to do in my life and in my career.
What intrigued you about the mentorship? Because there are presumably other mentors out there.
Yeah, well, my mom, who is actually a primary care physician, always told me you need to have a mentor. It's great to have a mentor. Now I suppose I could have had one of my professors be a mentor, or one of my martial arts instructors be a mentor for me, or a principal investigator in the lab be a mentor, but I don't know, for some reason that just never really spoke to me, never resonated with me. But once I saw this mentorship program, I just knew this is where I would find a mentor, and I was lucky enough to be matched with you, Dr. Anbar.
Now, it's so interesting to hear, because I have not heard this particular version of how we got matched. I thought you're interested in what I did as opposed to searching for a mentor to start with. I so agree with you that mentors are important. In fact, if I may take a moment to tell you about a mentor of mine from UCSD. UCSD is University of California in San Diego. Both Noah and I attended, but separated by a few decades. My mentor was Dr. Paul Saltman, who was a very famous professor at UCSD, and I actually got to meet him in my third week of college when I was interviewing. I worked for the school newspaper, and I decided to write an article about what the college administrators did. So I went in and interviewed the chancellor of the college and the vice chancellors, and Dr. Paul Saltman was, at that point, the vice chancellor of academic affairs. And I interviewed him about his job, and he took a liking to me. I liked him, and he served as my mentor for the next 15 years, even past college. Wow. One of the things that Dr. Saltman did for me, I remember when I got married, I brought my wife to meet him, and he took us out to lunch. And that was so meaningful that his professor, vice chancellor, would care about me enough to take me to a meal. And I've since replicated that. I've taken you out to lunch, as you know.
Yes,
and I do that with
yes,
my patients a lot because I know how meaningful it is when somebody of some stature takes interest in you. It really affects you in a positive way. And it's part of how we help each other. I also, before I continue your story, something interesting. So I've signed up as a potential mentor through University of California, San Diego for the last couple of years, and you are the only one who took me up on it, which is
wow, really
very interesting. So I think we were meant to meet. I don't know if you believe that.
I believe so. I agree.
So you didn't really have much exposure to hypnosis before we met, is that right?
No, I had one professor briefly mentioned it. It was a clinical psychology class, and he briefly mentioned hypnosis, but he probably mentioned it for like 5 minutes, and that was really it. And when I met you, I knew nothing about hypnosis.
So what surprised you from what you saw, or what did you learn as you started observing what I do?
Well, when I first saw you guide one of your patients into hypnosis, and I watched this person, how relaxed and what they were able to do, and how you're able to help them with hypnosis. It was, how do I say it? It intrigued me, but it kind of showed me that it really is real. We're learning in these classes, and what you were talking about, what you told me about previously, is real. It's kind of hard to believe, but it was just, and to this day, I'm still so amazed when I watch you work, when I watch you guide people into hypnosis and watch them heal themselves.
Yeah, it's amazing because in our normal lives, we don't realize how much power we have over ourselves, over our perception of our stress.
Of course.
And you just have to be shown the way, shown that it's possible. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like, teaching somebody to ride a bicycle. You can, in principle, it might be hard to imagine riding a bicycle if you've never seen anybody do it, It's hard to believe you could balance yourself.
Exactly. That's a great analogy.
But then you teach them, and they know, and then they've got mobility for life.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you got intrigued enough that you thought, hey, maybe I want to learn hypnosis at some point. When did you figure that out?
Yeah, I definitely did. I wanted to learn how I can go into hypnosis myself.
Was there something in particular you wanted to work on?
I wanted to work on my sleep. I figured I'd be able to use hypnosis so I can start to have better sleep.
So tell us what's the matter with your sleep, or what could be better with it?
So my entire life, I'm 24 years old now. From the time I was in elementary school, I have always had such restless sleep. Like I would thrash around. When I was growing up, my room was adjacent to my sister's room, and she would hear me kicking the wall in my sleep. I would wake up with my blanket being completely perpendicular to my bed. No idea how that happened, but I would just toss and turn all night, and it got to the point where I would wake up in the morning feeling as if I didn't sleep at all the night prior. I would be in bed. I would be, I presume, asleep. I never woke up. I never woke up during the night. I would sleep for about 8 hours, but I would wake up and feel as if I didn't sleep at all.
And did you have nightmares?
I had some nightmares, but my dreams are mostly just so intensely vivid that I have no idea I'm dreaming. And I'll wake up and I'll be like, oh my gosh, thank God that was just a dream. Like, most of my dreams involve driving, and in these dreams I can't control the car I'm driving, and I'll either be just flying down the road like 100 miles an hour, or I'll crash my car, Or I had one particular dream, I never forgot it, where the driver drove up the side of a mountain and jumped the car off the mountain, like full video game style. But the whole time in the dream, I thought it was real life. And it wasn't until I woke up that I realized it was just a dream.
Sounds very scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have trouble falling asleep?
No, which is so interesting. I fall asleep in probably about 20 minutes, maybe faster. I fall asleep fine. I don't wake up during the night, but if I do, I don't remember it at all. I don't think I wake up at night, but I would wake up just still completely exhausted, and it would take me about 2 to 3 hours to be functional enough to work.
Wow. So when you come to chat at me early in the morning, you must have done quite a bit of job to get yourself up.
See, that's the interesting part. If I had to work, if I had to go to work that day, if I was going to see you, if I was going to class, I would be functional. I'd be tired, but I would be functional. But if I was just studying on my own, if I told myself I need to wake up and study for the midterm, I wouldn't be able to study for 2 hours. It's the strangest thing.
Well, that shows you how your psychology can control even your fatigue, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, Noah represents, many people have similar issues and don't realize that their psychology can make a difference. So when you told me about this, I told you that I have a practitioner in my office. Her name is Dr. Christine Sullivan. She's a nurse practitioner who has a PhD. And she teaches our adult patients hypnosis. And I mentioned her because in 2 weeks she'll be a guest on this show, so we can pick her brain. But so you went to see Christine, and can you tell us what happened?
So we first learned about hypnosis. The first thing she wanted to teach me was mostly about our place in the universe. And she's honestly taught me a lot about spirituality, too. I'm not quite spiritual or religious. I do identify as Catholic, but I'm not very religious. But she taught me a lot about spirituality, a lot about my place in the universe. And when I brought up my dreams, she helped me to realize that these dreams are metaphors. And when she helped me kind of decipher what these dreams might mean, the dreams became much less terrifying and more just whimsical and strange, like most dreams are. And I would wake up feeling much better after not having such an intense dream.
Did your dream content change after that work?
Oh, yeah. Actually, now that I just realized it right now, I haven't had a driving dream since I learned about the metaphors. In fact, my dream last night, I dreamt about miniature penguins in someone's house in Iowa. I don't really know what that means, but yeah, wow, I haven't had a driving dream in the longest time.
Can you share what the driving dream metaphor meant to you? If I ask any question that you'd rather not say, you can just say I'd rather not.
Oh no. Well, Dr. Sullivan, he believed that this driving dream, me not being able to control the car, means that I don't know which path I want to take in life, which is still rather true. I do know I want to study psychology, but I don't know if I would rather practice or if I want to solely do research. But that's just one aspect of my life. I am extremely fascinated and enthralled with martial arts, and I love martial arts. And I would love to do something with that. I don't know if it's be a competitor in jiu-jitsu myself, or train someone in jiu-jitsu, or even be a sports psychologist for some elite level competitor. I just don't know where I want to take my life right now. Dr. Sullivan told me that this is possibly my subconscious trying to convey the fact, trying to tell me that there are so many roads, like there's so many roads in life. You just need to figure it out however you see fit, and then these dreams will subside, I believe.
So the out-of-control driving was sort of how you felt about your life, and when you realized that you can find a path and do well with it, the fear dissipated, if I'm hearing you right.
I believe so, yes. Once I realized that it was sort of a dissonance that I had. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. That my subconscious is telling me, just lay out all of your options in front of you. Look at all of your options, and then from there you can figure out which path may lead to all of these. Maybe one large road that eventually forks, but for now you can figure out a sort of path to go down.
That's very, very interesting. So, two comments. One is that I tell my patients that the average person changes career 5 times in their life.
Whoa, what?
You haven't heard that yet.
Wow.
So, even I, within medicine, changed paths 5 times. I started out doing basic research, then I did clinical work, then I learned about hypnosis, and now I'm doing hypnosis work. Then I'm going to be writing books, and I'm trying to franchise my practice. That's a business kind of practice. So 5 different things within my career as a physician. So it's not such a, oh my gosh, I have to make the right choice now. You just make a choice, follow the road, do as best you can, and then when you're ready, you can shift if you want to.
Another dream I had that I should tell you about is I had a dream. I was with my brother. My brother and I are very close, very, very close. But we were walking in the small town near where we live, near our hometown. But we were walking through a river. The river was right next to a road. But we're walking through a river. Don't know why. And we were fishing. But the odd thing is my brother and I don't fish. So imagine we were fishing. But my brother was the only one catching fish. And I just thought that was so strange. And Dr. Sullivan asked questions about my brother, and I told her that my brother is going to physical therapy school in Iowa, and she said, there it is right there. That fish he caught was him getting closer and closer to his career as a physical therapist, and here I am with no fish, still trying to figure out the path I want to take in life.
Yep, but the cool thing is when you talk about flow and things meaning to be, like you got to meet me, it was meant to be as far as I'm concerned, and Christine is telling you about spirituality and things are meant to be, to have faith in that and know that you're going to land. There's no doubt about it. The only is to figure out where.
Yes, sir.
And the other comment I have about dreams, and in my work with patients with dreams, typically, in my experience, is if you're having a recurrent dream or a dream type, and you figure out what it means, then it doesn't happen again. That's pretty typical because, like, you got the message, and now you can have different dreams. That makes sense.
Yeah, I haven't had the driving dream since I learned what it meant, and that was 6 weeks ago, maybe more, maybe 8 weeks ago.
Excellent.
And now having dreams like driving dreams like every other week. It was pretty bad, actually.
So what else did Dr. Sullivan teach you?
Well, Dr. Sullivan kind of, she's guided me into hypnosis before, and she helped me to realize what I wanted to do with my career, what I wanted to find I guess I would say the umbrella of what I wanted to do. And she guided me through hypnosis. She actually walked me through a forest, a national park. She guided me down the entire forest. I saw all of the trees, and she told me that I'm going to see a plane. You know those planes? You go to the beach, you see those planes have the banner on the back of them. She said you're going to see a plane like that fly by, and she said there'll be a message on it. And the message was, happiness comes from within. And that just calmed me down so much. And she's told me that your subconscious is going to tell you what you want to do with your life, what you want to do with your career. And I was just waiting, I was meditating, and just waiting for it. And then just 2 words, it just said medical psychology, like medicine and psychology. That's what I want to do with my life, and that's where I am heading right now. But like I just said, I don't know if it's clinical, if it's practice, or if it's research.
Or you can do both. You can do both.
Yeah, I really could do both.
or you could switch, just like I did.
All right. Yes, sir.
Now, the message "happiness comes from within." Is that the message that Dr. Sullivan taught you, or this is the message your subconscious showed you?
No, this is the message my subconscious told me. Dr. Sullivan said that you're going to see a plane, and it's going to have a banner, and there'll be a message on the banner. He's like, I know what it's going to say. It's going to say a message. And I was just sitting, I was just in hypnosis, just meditating, just waiting. Saw the plane fly by. That was so funny to see. I was like, oh my gosh, there it goes. And then saw right in the banner, happiness comes from within. My gosh, yeah.
And it's beautiful. See, you're just illustrating to our listeners how you listen to your own center. This is what the show is all about, finding the guidance you need from within you, and you did. And the wisdom that you showed should also give you confidence that you can handle whatever comes your way. You have access to a lot of wisdom within you, and this will guide you throughout your life, including with your career choice. So, Noah, thank you so much for what you shared thus far. When you come after the break, I want to hear what you think you would like other people to know about hypnosis and how it can affect their life.
Right.
So this is Centerpoint with Dr. Ron Anbar.
Healing and changing children's lives with hypnosis is very real and very possible. Dr. Ron Ambar's new book, Changing Children's Lives with Hypnosis, provides you meaningful stories and expert explanations to show you not only the process of hypnosis, but its many benefits for overall wellness. Whether a parent, practitioner, or medical doctor, this book opens the way to complete connection, so necessary for healing. Get your copy of Changing Children's Lives with Hypnosis at Amazon.com or visit dranbar.com.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Dr. Ron Ambar and his dedicated team of healthcare providers offer unique health services to help patients overcome psychological roadblocks or use the power of their minds to improve their overall health and well-being. At Centerpoint Medicine with services in La Jolla, California and Syracuse, New York, this caring staff are waiting just to help you. Find out more at centerpointmedicine.com. Can't wait? Make your appointment now. Call 858-201-4001. That's 858-201-4001.
Audiobooks gives you instant access to over 50,000 of the best sellers and hottest book titles in romance, mystery, fiction, and many other genres. Just visit HealthyLife.net's advertiser page and click on Audiobooks to get started.
Every year since opening Centerpoint Medicine, Dr. Ron Ambar has been overwhelmed with demand for his services, so much so that he has established a first-of-its-kind franchise opportunity. As a franchise owner of the leading pediatric hypnosis counseling center in the U.S., you'll be at the forefront of an exciting sector of healthcare as you increase your revenue. With low overhead and full support, it's your time to take advantage of this franchise opportunity. Just call 858-997-3196. That's 858-997-3196.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
If you are a medical or licensed healthcare professional or just anyone looking for a qualified hypnosis practitioner, then go on over to ASCH.net. That's the American Society of Clinical Hypnosis. At ASCH.net, you can get certified, attend workshops, and even find a hypnosis practitioner or consultant. ASCH provides an opportunity to learn and interact with colleagues. So whether you're a professional wanting to learn hypnosis or a patient wanting help with a problem, visit ASCH.net now.
More exhilarating talk. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back to Center Point with Dr. Ron Anbar and our special guest today, Noah, who has told us some amazing experiences he's had with hypnosis. And Noah, I wonder, you talked before about going to a forest. Was that how you got into hypnosis? What does that mean, going to the forest?
Well, Dr. Sullivan, what she does with her practice, she likes to guide people. When she helps them into hypnosis, she'll guide someone through a national park, through a forest, or she'll guide them walk down the beach. And that's how she does. That's what she's done with me, at least. And it's not a metaphor per se. Like, when she's helping me with hypnosis, I am actually in this forest. I'm actually on this beach, and then that's how she's able to have our subconscious speak to us and give messages to us.
That's amazing. So you're thinking of a career involving medical hypnosis, either research or clinical or both. And
yes.
I gather that's because you see the value of hypnosis. Can you share with the listeners what you want them to know? So if they don't have experience with hypnosis, what should they know about it?
So I wish more people knew that hypnosis is very real. When I tell people I'm learning about hypnosis, the first question they ask is it real? Because I think what their first idea of hypnosis is when they see a magic show, they see someone acting like a chicken on stage. That's not what this medical hypnosis. This isn't what Centerpoint medicine does. What Centerpoint medicine does is they help people to use their own mind, use their own brain, use their own resources from within to better themselves. And this is something that exists in every single person. Anyone can do this. And anyone can better themselves, whether it's make themselves happier, make themselves work more throughout the day, be closer to their families, be happier, healthier, whatever it is, they can certainly achieve it through hypnosis.
What surprised you when you, either through your own hypnosis work or seeing other patients? What did you find unexpected?
Well, actually, I didn't expect to see all of these, I don't know, better way, how to say, like medical problems, I guess. I'm not sure the better way to say it. All these medical problems that you treated with hypnosis, whether it was, and reading your book, all the different, I always thought hypnosis would just be just depression, anxiety, bipolar, like that. I never thought about using hypnosis for headaches or for arthritis or for stomach aches or anything like that. I thought like you had to go see a not traditional doctor. You had to go see a doctor who would prescribe you some sort of medication for all of these symptoms. I never thought using the power of your own mind was enough to treat all of these symptoms and these medical issues. I never, my wildest dreams, thought that this would be possible. But after seeing it so many times, after reading your book, I realized that it really is possible. And I just wish more people were doing this. More people knew about it. More people were doing it. I believe the world would be a much healthier, much happier place with more hypnosis.
So thank you for mentioning my book, Changing Children's Lives with Hypnosis, A Journey to the Center, available through Amazon and other book distributors. And you're right. We've talked about this at the show before, that people with medical problems, especially chronic medical symptoms, generally benefit from hypnosis as long as they want to help themselves. And the reason is because of their psychology. So when you have a chronic symptom, you're going to develop feelings about it. Maybe you'll be anxious. Maybe you'll be depressed. Maybe you'll be angry. And those feelings affect the symptoms. So if you're sad, your symptoms might get worse. If you're anxious, they might intensify. And when you learn to control your emotions with hypnosis, and you learn how to process information in your brain better with hypnosis, you can make the symptoms better. So if you have a pain, for example, and you learn to teach your brain to ignore the pain or to make it smaller or put it aside, then you're dealing better with pain. Or sometimes people develop medical symptoms that start with a real illness, like a stomach flu, but then the symptoms persist even though the stomach flu is gone. And maybe they persist because you get anxious about the symptoms in the first place, then the anxiety causes the stomach aches to persist. And this can last for years. And when you learn to regulate your emotions, it gets better within a couple of weeks. It's remarkable.
That could certainly be miserable years, just absolutely miserable, when there's, I don't want to say there's no problem, when there doesn't need to be a problem. Hey, that's how I want to say it.
Exactly. I feel so, I don't want to say upset, but frustrated that there are many, many people out there suffering needlessly. And they go to doctors who are supposedly experts, and the doctors give them pills and various diagnoses and various tests that don't really touch their psychology. And so you end up with a patient who continues to suffer despite, quote-unquote, best medical care. And this is, again, where you and your future profession and myself in my current capacity have to keep talking so people get the message, hey, I can help myself. Hey, I want to feel better.
And thankfully, my mom, Dr. Badron, she's a primary care physician, but she's also realized a lot of these problems are psychogenic. And she's learned much more about psychiatry. She's done a psychiatry fellowship, and she does want to learn about counseling. So I believe some doctors are realizing this trend. That's not the right word to use. They are realizing it, but I believe, like you said, much more specialists need to realize that it's much more than just prescribing some medication. You can use your own brain power, your own mind to heal yourself.
Right. And, I would argue that any good physician does counseling. That's why they're good, because whether they realize it or not, they're doing counseling. So when you prescribe a pill and you say, I think it's going to help you, because
there you go.
many patients have benefited, that's counseling. If you, on the other hand, say, oh, I'm going to give you a pill, I'm not sure it's going to work, if it doesn't work, we'll try something else, that's counseling too, except it's negative counseling. And the patient will respond to that. And the doctor, for example, gives negative counseling and things don't work out for his patients, say, well, I want to be honest, things don't work out, so I tell him that. Then when he says, or she says it's not going to work out, they're causing it. And the reverse, of course, is also true. The physician who's optimistic and say, I really believe this can help you, then gets patients who respond well. So when physicians learn to do hypnosis, they learn how to better say things to their patients in a way that's helpful to them. Noah, thank you so much for sharing some of your experiences with us. I look forward to continuing to be your mentor in years to come, and maybe you'll appear on our show again. Tell us more.
Hopefully. Thank you, Dr. Ambar. It's been a pleasure.
Take good care, and this is Centerpoint with Dr. Ron Anbar.
Make-A-Wish has been granting life-changing wishes for children and families for over 40 years. A wish is something that gives children the opportunity to look outside their illness and restore a sense of childhood back to the child. With the help of donors and more than 43,000 worldwide volunteers, Make-A-Wish has collectively granted more than 520,000 wishes worldwide. Dr. Anbar has referred many patients to Make-A-Wish. To make a donation, go to worldwish.org. That's worldwish.org.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
Healing and changing children's lives with hypnosis is very real and very possible. Dr. Ron Ambar's new book, Changing Children's Lives with Hypnosis, provides you meaningful stories and expert explanations to show you not only the process of hypnosis, but its many benefits for overall wellness. Whether a parent, practitioner, or medical doctor, this book opens the way to complete connection, so necessary for healing. Get your copy of Changing Children's Lives with Hypnosis at Amazon.com or visit dranbar.com.
Reach your health and fitness goals. Whether you want to lose weight, learn to dance, build muscle, or just live healthy, Beachbody gives you unlimited access to the nation's most popular fitness and weight loss solutions. Visit our advertiser page and click on Beachbody now.
Dr. Ron Ambar and his dedicated team of healthcare providers offer unique health services to help patients overcome psychological roadblocks or use the power of their minds to improve their overall health and well-being. At Centerpoint Medicine with services in La Jolla, California and Syracuse, New York, this caring staff are waiting just to help you. Find out more at centerpointmedicine.com. Can't wait? Make your appointment now. Call 858-201-4001. That's 858-201-4001.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Every year since opening Centerpoint Medicine, Dr. Ron Ambar has been overwhelmed with demand for his services. So much so that he has established a first-of-its-kind franchise opportunity. As a franchise owner of the leading pediatric hypnosis counseling center in the U.S., you'll be at the forefront of an exciting sector of healthcare as you increase your revenue. With low overhead and full support, it's your time to take advantage of this franchise opportunity. Just call 858-997-3196. That's 858-997-3196.
All positive talk with a mature edge. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back to Centerpoint. I'm your host, Dr. Ron Anbar. That was a great interview with Noah. I just want to remind you that in 2 weeks' time, we'll be talking with Dr. Christine Sullivan, who taught Noah those great forests and playing with a banner metaphors that helped him reach his center core. Incredible story. So in this segment, we always talk about another patient's story, and I want to tell you about a patient named Presley who came to me because he had a lot of anxiety while playing basketball. And I mentioned his name because you can actually view a TV interview of Presley. I'll give you the website address a little bit if you want to see him talking about his experiences with hypnosis. In a TV interview, you can actually check it out after the show. So Presley came to me. He was very anxious about playing basketball. He's an outstanding basketball player, but was very nervous about making mistakes, being yelled at by the coaches, by making a bad impression on scouts who might want to see if he could play in the college basketball. And because he was anxious about playing well, he always played safe. He wouldn't take the difficult shot. He wouldn't make the difficult pass because he didn't want to mess up. And that meant he played uninspired basketball. But he was too scared to play more intense basketball and to go on a limb. So when I met him, I taught him some basic notions that helped him change his game. And I should tell you that actually when Presley was interviewed on TV, he said he almost had quit basketball because he felt so stressed about playing well. So here are some of the notions I taught him. So first of all, the fear of mistakes is misplaced. Mistakes are actually when we best learn. We best learn from our mistakes. Ralph Nader, the consumer advocate, said, your best teacher is your last mistake. And why do we learn from mistakes? Because when we make them, we ask ourselves, what happened and how can we do better? If you play perfectly, there's nothing to learn. You can enjoy yourself that you won the game or played well, but you haven't learned anything. You only learn when you make mistakes. So while mistakes isn't something you should do on purpose, but when they happen, you should embrace them. Oh, a mistake happened. What can I learn? And now I can become a better player. Sometimes I tell athletes, I say to them, if you were playing in a league where you never made a mistake and you scored all the points and you were the best person in your team, what would I tell you? I would tell you, go to another league. Go to a league where you're challenged, because that's the only way you're going to grow. So the idea of playing out of your comfort zone that is necessary to advance you as a player is an important one. And so I encourage Presley to play, take risks, make new plays, and I told him I would know he's doing so because he would tell me he made mistakes. That's principle number one. Principle number two. A lot of athletes are afraid of disappointing their coaches or disappointing their teammates, and then they get yelled at. And a lot of coaches actually become very negative with their players. And I can tell you why this happens to begin with, and then I'll tell you what I tell the players, how to deal with it. So why do some coaches become very negative? Well, when you take the average player, or any player, some days they play at their average level, or most days they play at their average levels. Some days they play better than average, just because some days are better, and some days they play worse than average, because by definition they're going to vary between good days and bad days. That's true for anyone in any activity. So when they play well, and the coach says, good job, then, which I think is a good thing to say, the next day they are likely to play worse just because they're going to go back to average. As average means that's what you usually do. In time, if the coach keeps saying good job, they'll improve, but it's a slow process. The coach is thinking, though, hey, I said good job, and the next day they played worse. That didn't really help. Conversely, that same coach will notice that when the player plays poorly and he yells at the player, the next day the player does better. Now, what the coach does not realize is that the player played better not because he was yelled at, but because he went back to average. The player would have gone back and played better even if the coach had said nothing. But the coach doesn't realize that. The coach figures, oh, the player got better because I yelled at him. And this is the birthplace of yelling negative coaches. Unfortunately, this works really badly on the minds of athletes, especially sensitive ones. So when the coach yells at the player becomes unhappy, thinks they're poor, thinks they can't do it. Sometimes the coach tells them that, which affirms that belief. And then they get into a negative cycle. So that was happening to Presley as well. So what do? You teach the athlete to counter the coach's words with positive talk. We've talked about positive talk in earlier episodes of this show. And so when a coach yells at the player, and that was really stupid, and there's a dumb-headed play, the player can be trained to say to himself, I will do better next time. I'm a better player than that, and I will focus my eye on the ball better, or give himself a specific suggestion to improve that play. And in so doing, the player blocks the negative impact of the coach on his play. So that's the second technique. The third technique involves imagining how you want the play to go before you play, and imagining it goes well. So many athletes are so worried about messing up, they'll get up to bat and they'll worry they might strike out. Or a bowler might worry about throwing a gutter ball, or not hitting the head pin, or whatever. When you have this negative imagery, it tends to cause negative things to occur. So I teach athletes to spend time in hypnosis imagining how they want the play to unfold. They imagine how they might hit the baseball. They imagine how they might shoot the basketball. And by so doing, both in hypnosis and during the games, they improve. Wayne Gretzky, who is the most famous hockey player of all time, was interviewed and asked, what made you so good? How did you skate so well? He said, I would imagine where the hockey puck would be struck to and skate there before it was hit. Wayne Gretzky had such an understanding of the game that he knew enough about where the hockey puck was going to go in his imagination, and then he'd skate there and was ready to intercept it. That's hypnosis. And I teach that to athletes. I teach them on the go during a game, imagine what's going to happen next. It gives you one step ahead of time. That was a third way of helping yourself. So athletes learn that making mistakes is helpful. That's how you learn. That they can block negative input and turn into positive, and that they can make their play better through imagery. I have a lot more tips on that in my book, in Chapter 9 of the book, Changing Children's Lives with Hypnosis. And if you would like to see Presley's radio interview, you can go to centerpointhypnosis.com and look at the CPM radio show tab. This is Centerpoint with Dr. Ron Anbar.
More than 30,000 children and adults of every race and ethnic group in the U.S. have cystic fibrosis. Cystic fibrosis is a disease causing long-lasting lung infections, limiting the ability to breathe over time. Dr. Anbar participated in research that helped advance survival of cystic fibrosis patients by more than 20 years. He encourages you to donate to the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation to help find a cure. It's easy to donate. Go to cff.org. That's cff.org.
HealthyLife.net, the positive radio network.
If you are a medical or licensed healthcare professional or just anyone looking for a qualified hypnosis practitioner, then go on over to ASCH.net. That's the American Society of Clinical Hypnosis. At ASCH.net, you can get certified, attend workshops, and even find a hypnosis practitioner or consultant. ASCH provides an opportunity to learn and interact with colleagues. So whether you're a professional wanting to learn hypnosis or a patient wanting help with a problem, visit ASCH.net now.
Constant Contact and your small business make a perfect fit for marketing. They give you what you need to succeed. Fast and easy email marketing at your fingertips. Visit the HealthyLife.net advertiser page and click on Constant Contact to start your marketing.
Healing and changing children's lives with hypnosis is very real and very possible. Dr. Ron Ambar's new book, Changing Children's Lives with Hypnosis, provides you meaningful stories and expert explanations to show you not only the process of hypnosis, but its many benefits for overall wellness. Whether a parent, practitioner, or medical doctor, this book opens the way to complete connection, so necessary for healing. Get your copy of Changing Children's Lives with Hypnosis at Amazon.com or visit dranbar.com.
HealthyLife.net, where positive overcomes negative.
Dr. Ron Ambar and his dedicated team of healthcare providers offer unique health services to help patients overcome psychological roadblocks or use the power of their minds to improve their overall health and well-being. At Centerpoint Medicine with services in La Jolla, California and Syracuse, New York, this caring staff are waiting just to help you. Find out more at centerpointmedicine.com. Can't wait? Make your appointment now. Call 858-201-4001. That's 858-201-4001.
Radio your way. HealthyLife.net.
Welcome back to Centerpoint with Dr. Ron Anbar. I've had a lot of fun in this show. I hope the listeners are having a lot of fun as well. In the break, my producer, Jay, mentioned that he watched Wayne Gretzky play hockey for the Kings, L.A. Kings, and that he moved like very few athletes move. He saw him skating in a different way. Yeah, because Wayne was using his mind in a different way. And I mentioned to Jay that Steph Curry, who is a basketball player for the Golden State Warriors, he also does the same kind of thing. If you watch him play, he is running around the court away from the ball, and yet seems to always end up right where he needs to be. And I suspect that Steph does a similar thing because of his great basketball knowledge. So again, the mind is very, very powerful, and you can use it to improve anything in your mind, be it a medical symptom or a psychological symptom like we discussed with Noah, or improve your athletic performance like my patient Presley. I gave the website where you can see Presley's interview. Again, I'm going to give it again because it was passed at the end of the last segment. Center Point Hypnosis, CenterPoint Hypnosis.com. There's a tab there that says CPM Radio Show, and when you click on that, you can scroll down to the interview that I had with Presley and find out more about how he improved. So in this last segment, we always talk about how you can improve yourself. And continuing this line of talking about athletes, another hypnotic technique that can be really useful is thinking about what would my coach say. So the way this works, and you can employ this without formal hypnosis if you're an athlete, you can imagine playing your game, and after you imagine playing the game for a bit, you can imagine talking to your coach and saying, what kind of feedback do you have for me about how I played? Now, the coach can be your real-life coach, or it could be like a famous professional athlete who you wish was your coach. And then the coach will tell you what feedback you get, and then you play again in your imagination based on that feedback. And that helps improve your play. And you can actually practice your sport in your mind. I had a patient once who was a gymnast, and he came because he got anxious when his coach yelled at him for over-rotating as he did flips. And 2 weeks after I met him, he wrenched his knee and he couldn't do gymnastics for the next 3 months. And I told him, well, practice in your mind and imagine what your coach would tell you to improve. And I told him 90% of sports is mental, and so mind practice will also help improve you, even more so than physical practice. So he did that, and when he went back to gymnastics at the end of the season, when he recovered from his injury, he won the regional championship and then went to states. And was this a miracle? No, he used his mind, including asking himself, what would my coach say, to improve himself. I've done this many times with many athletes, and it really, really works. But this ability to ask, what does the coach say, extends way beyond athletics. You can do that in any area of life. If you're a student, you can ask, what would my teacher or professor say? And if you're a businessman, you can say, well, what would Bill Gates say? What would Warren Buffett say? If you're an artist, what would Pablo Picasso say, if you're that kind of artist? Or Leonardo da Vinci, what might he say? And when you ask yourself questions that way, you get some really fascinating answers that you may never have thought of before. How that works is not well understood. Perhaps when you imagine what someone else might tell you, you're activating different brain pathways, and therefore you'll think of a problem with a different perspective. One reason that Dr. Sullivan talks a lot about spirituality is that it gives you a different perspective on things, and therefore new ideas can pop up more easily. If you're really of a spiritual bent, you might think that when you think of what a famous person might say, you're actually tapping in some way into the spirit of that person. Perhaps that's true. It doesn't matter if you are or not, as long as you get new ways of thinking that can be helpful to you. So the principle is, when you think of what somebody else might say, you get new insights, and you can ask several experts. Maybe you want several business leaders to give you their input, or you can consult with American presidents or old kings. Yes, you can even imagine what Jesus would say. In fact, in the Christian world, when I was a college student, people would wear wristbands that said WWJD, which stood for What Would Jesus Do? Same kind of idea. When you think in that way, you have a clear idea what you might do. And of course, if you're not Christian, you can adapt this to your own belief system. So I will tell you that recently I've been using the same kind of notion with little kids, with grade school kids who are misbehaving, and I'll tell them, what would your favorite toy say about your behavior? And they'll pause and think, and the favorite toy might have a suggestion of that maybe you don't want to behave this way. And the kids seem to listen to their imaginary favorite toy better than to their parents, which is pretty funny to observe. And when you go into even younger kids, the 4 or 5-year-olds who have imaginary friends, if you're a parent, don't say, oh, that's imagination, that's pretend. Use it. Oh, what would your imaginary friend say about this? You know, you taking the cookie without permission. What would they say? And you'll find that the imaginary friend will say, well, I probably shouldn't have done that, or should have shared, or should have asked. I found that when you ask patients what would their coach say, what would their teacher say, what would their friends say, they come up with wise things. Not unlike the banner on the plane. What would the banner say? We have great wisdom within each of us, even as youngsters. When you ask questions in a way that allows that wisdom to come out, patients can benefit and people can benefit greatly. So, as your child or as you come up to challenges, work on solving them on your own, but don't hesitate to ask for help either from a friend, a family member, or an imaginary friend, an imaginary family member, or even a coach. And that will give you a lot of insight. There are one other way that you can use, if you don't want to imagine what somebody else would say, is to hear your inner self through calming yourself by focusing on your breath, by focusing on an imaginary comfortable place, and just being silent and listening. Listen, and the inner wisdom will come through. And then whatever comes through, take it with respect. Sometimes you might have to massage it like a dream or a metaphor, but there's always be a positive message. Well, I shouldn't say always, but most always is a positive message that can benefit you. Thank you very much for joining us in today's show. This is Centerpoint with Dr. Ron Anbar.